Greg Eckerman. I'm co-founder of EricsHouse and Eric's stepfather. We lost our youngest son, Eric, to suicide after a long battle with substance abuse in 2016. And as a result of our experience, we determined that there was a real need for support for those of us that have gone through this kind of tragic loss. And we structured EricsHouse based on things that we learned in our journey and the things that worked for us. It's really difficult to find a safe space to be able to express your feelings. And what we found was, while there are some outstanding support offerings for people who are struggling with suicide ideation, the survivors of loss to suicide or substance abuse are often forgotten. Men often feel very reluctant to share their pain. It's such a heavy burden, and so much, especially with losses like ours, so much of this gets impeded by common feelings of guilt or shame or anger. And those feelings need to be expressed to be able to move beyond them. And so it's really interesting. The dynamic of the men's group for me, is just beautiful to watch it unfold. The first meeting or two can be a little awkward for the new guys coming in. It's hard to put yourself in that place where you talk about what's essentially your greatest fear and how it's manifested in your life. And so it takes guts to do that. The floodgates kind of open. You get to see people people open up in ways that they can't do anywhere else, and they probably have never done before. It's really a fascinating thing to watch, and it's kind of beautiful to see how the relationships evolve in those groups and the connections that emerge between the guys. So I think the most important thing for you all might be to hear in their own words from some of the guys in our recent groups what this men's group experience has been like for them, what it's meant for them, and how it's affected their personal journeys.
Hi, my name's Matthew, and I'm a member of the EricsHouse Men's Group. After we lost our son Jacob in 2021 in December, we were looking for any kind of support we could find. We needed answers and we needed help. There wasn't a whole lot happening during that time, with everything kind of still being shut down, and I had to take to the internet to find support that we needed. That's when I found Geriann and Greg and EricsHouse, and what a difference they've made in my life. Greg and I had discussed a men's group and the hope for what that could turn into. Initial stages of our first men's group, it was pretty quiet. We didn't really have a whole lot to say in that first meeting. Everybody was nervous. Nobody wanted to open up to strangers. Nobody wanted to bare their soul in front of people that they never met, especially when you're talking about your deepest and darkest fears. But as time went on, it just took one person to open up, and then slowly something special started to happen. We stopped being a group of strangers, and we started being family. We have come together in one of the most beautiful ways that I could ever imagine. We're there for each other. We support each other. The compassion and the permission to break down and that to be okay is tremendous. Just knowing that you have a safe space to go to where you're not going to be judged, it's a comforting feeling. These are special people, and I'm happy to have them in my life. I'm happy to have my brothers in the group, and I'm happy to have EricsHouse, Geriann, Greg, Maddie, and everybody else that has been such a big part of this in the past 2 years.
My name is Emil Graff. I lost my son, Austin, in April of 2022. After I lost my son, I suffered for a very long time. I still suffer, but there's a difference now. I saw countless therapists after Austin died. Despite that, I could not find a way to unburden myself. It didn't help seeing therapists that really couldn't understand what I was going through. I felt like I was listening to repeated cliches. Finally, in February of this year, my wife introduced me to Greg Eckerman, and I started working in his men's group, and I have found a community of other men that understand me, that understand what I'm going through, what I have been through. I have a group of people that are there for me at all times, and it has made all the difference in the world for me in my grieving process. And honestly, I don't know where I would be without Greg and EricsHouse and the space that they have provided for me in these men's groups to manage my grief and my sadness. I feel that it is shared now. Like I said, that has made all the difference in the world. Thank you, Greg, and thank you, EricsHouse.
Hey, I'm Mike. March 22nd of this year was probably the worst day of my life. We lost my brother Robert to suicide, and needless to say, the months that ensued were the darkest and hardest of my life, and I broke, and I was in a really bad place. By the grace of God, my mom discovered EricsHouse. She herself joined the women's group, and she recommended that I check out the men's, and I was so desperate and low, I was willing to try anything that would make me feel 1% better. Joining the EricsHouse men's group was one of the best decisions I have made this year, for sure. It was so comforting to be in a small group of people who had literally walked in your shoes, and it really was instrumental in my grief journey and to getting out of this like rock bottom place.
My name is Ben, and last year my daughter Jane died by suicide. In the various groups that I've been a part of as a grieving person, something I've noticed is that they're mostly women, and it has made me, wonder where the grieving men are and who's supporting them. Finding the EricsHouse men's group was wonderful. It is really powerful to have the fellowship of a group of men who can talk with each other from male point of view about sorrow. Anyone who has been through intense grief will tell you that it's incredibly isolating, and I think perhaps it's especially isolating even for men. So this group is a lifeline, and I can see every week what a difference it makes.
I'm Cody Campbell, and this is my son Xander. We lost Xander to suicide. We were lost. We're stuck with the task, with the burden, with I don't know what you call it. We're stuck with it. And then as soon as I went to my first men's group, it was such a relief to be able to talk and share. And ever since my very first meeting, I have looked forward to it every single week. I continue to look forward to it, and we've made some great connections with people in it. I just recommend it for any person who's hurting from a loss, but especially for us men, because we don't do this very good on our own.
Hi everybody, my name is Carter Mayberry. Our son Ashton died from suicide on January 28, 2014. I found the Men's Grief Support Group when I was kind of stuck. The Men's Grief Support Group helps me because there are other men who are experiencing similar feelings that I'm experiencing, and just the love and support they provide is invaluable and indescribable.
My name's Andrew, and I lost my wife Effie to suicide in December of 2022. Pretty quickly found EricsHouse and got joined up with the group pretty quickly. It's been pretty instrumental in how I'm doing. I can come and just share where I'm at. I know I'm committed to be there, so I know whatever else is going on, whatever I'm trying to push out of my mind, I've got to face it at least once a week. I can be there for other people to listen, and that's a pretty special thing too. There's something about hearing experiences that you can relate to and not have to be anything else than somebody who's grieving and sharing what that feels like. It's pretty special.
Every year in October we do a fundraiser, and that fundraiser is really key to our ongoing success. And the monies that we bring in the October fundraiser are a big part of what allows us to keep our doors open. One of our key tenets is that this is a painful experience, and always will be. This will be painful for the rest of our lives. So we've evolved a metaphor that I've found personally helpful. When we encounter the pain of our loss, when we learn to embrace it, we do it because we learn that love and the pain of loss are just two sides of the same coin. And the interesting thing about that metaphor is both sides of a coin, of course, are exactly the same size. And so the metaphor of the coin led us to a project to develop our own EricsHouse coin. It is very tactile, and it becomes a tool to sort of aid in learning to dose. If we can encounter the pain and learn to flip the coin and look at the love behind it, then that gives us a way to meter our exposure. It's really perhaps the most important survival tool that we can learn.
I like the metaphor that one side can represent our grief and the other side can represent the love that we feel for the person that is, and mentally trying to flip that coin over whenever the grief starts to become overwhelming.
I absolutely love the coin that they developed. I mean, it is so true. You know, the amount of pain equals the amount of love. And I bought one not only for myself, but for my mom and dad. And it's just a great reminder to have in your pocket, especially when you're feeling low and dark, that on the other side of that is profound love.
And the magic of it is that you can be in a group of people where you look at every man and know that he appreciates the intensity of the pain and equally appreciates the meaningfulness of the love. It's connecting and it's meaningful.
We also have a lot of other resources that address some of those sort of more holistic needs. We have spiritual companioning, links to counselors who are very, very good at this. It's really important to recognize that you don't have to tough it out and that you don't just get over it. And most certainly, it's not true that time heals all wounds, but it does take time and it takes hard work. This is probably the hardest work that any of us will ever do, and we shouldn't do it alone. If you're able, we need your support. We operate on a very bare bones kind of structure. Almost every dollar we get goes to services, and we have found that the need for our services is growing exponentially. So if you're able, if you're willing, we would love to have your support. I promise you, we make very good use of the money. Obviously, we welcome support at any level. You can process your credit card for as much as it will bear. You will enable us to continue our mission and to reach more people. Unfortunately, we lost Mike in early July this summer to a very unexpected cardiac event. It was a tragic loss. And I'm joined here this afternoon by Geriann, Heslin, Mike's mom, because I really wanted to honor Mike's contribution to our men's groups and then subsequently in our sibling group, and especially to kind of share my feelings. It was such an honor for me to walk alongside Mike in his journey from that first men's group, which was very shortly after Robert died, and just to see how he kind of grew into the role. He really became the glue for the groups that he was in. And I just wanted to have you share your story. Oh, by the way, this is Mike's picture. And Geriann, I wanted to ask if you would share your story, your observations. I mean, you and Mike were going through very similar grief journeys,
Yes.
and I know you were very, very close to each other. But I just wanted to get your observations of Mike's journey.
Thank you, Greg. Yes, Michael and I were going through it as my other siblings were, or my kids were. Andrew, Tim, and Anna, and my beloved husband, John. And it was a shock last March. And I found out about Eric's House through my friend at St. Bridget's, and Marianne and Carolyn shepherded us in this beautiful mothers group. And Michael, like he said, he hit a dark place. He needed, some help in asking out for some healing. And you can see what a beautiful soul he was and is. I'm here to honor not only Michael, but my son, Robert, who we lost last March, because I believe they're with us right now, right here, and very much alive with us. Michael came to me. I said, "You need to join Eric's House." And the first group he joined was the fathers, the dads group. It turned out to be all dads,
Except for Mike.
except for Mike.
And that was such a beautiful
yes,
thing to watch.
and at first he said, "Mom, I don't think I fit in. I'm not a dad. I lost my brother." And then after the second session, he called me and, he said, "Mom," he said, "a strange thing happened. We started talking, and these dads started sharing their feelings with me about the loss of their son and daughter." And Mike said he had not. This is typical of my son. He has nothing but love and compassion in his heart for these men, for these dads, and that he felt their suffering. And they, in turn, told him that he helped them to understand their journey, their grief journey, and it gave him comfort and peace to know where their other kids were during the grief journey.
Yeah, I think that's such a big deal to understand when you lose a child and you have other kids, their grief journey is inherently very different. I think Mike's perspective really helped in that first group, and then subsequent groups had other mixes. But from Robert's death in March of 2023, I think Mike joined the first men's group in April. It was less than 2 months, I'm sure of that.
Okay.
And so it was, that was just, and it was easy to see. He was really struggling with how to process it.
Yes.
And, he came to, Mike had such a sort of natural compassion and empathy and kindness that I think it really helped him on his journey, and I think it really helped him to be in contact with other people who, could understand his losses and could really create the space for him to do the work of mourning.
Yeah.
And he did the work.
He did the work. He was wearing his band, which is Love Unconditionally. That was one of the things in my Michael band. He was not only, Greg, you mentioned the glue of these groups. He was the glue of his family, of his friends. And I thought, I've got to be here today to continue him. He is definitely saying, "Mom, you got to be there for me." But the sibling group that he joined afterwards, it really helped him to heal, because he said that it basically, they're in the same shoes of losing a sibling, and that they became a family of support, a safe space to share their innermost sufferings and in their loss, and they comforted each other, and they continue to communicate almost on a daily basis with these dads and these siblings. And Michael said, "Mom, just knowing that they're nearby and they're there for me, it just reassures me in my grief that I'm not alone."
Yeah.
So that really was the key for him, to have that, the companions of the siblings and the dads. And
Mike was, especially in the sibling group, that was our very first sibling group. And Mike was the connector in that group. He kind of rallied everybody.
Yeah.
I think he initiated the text chain that they were, they used the heck out of that like every day, I think. And so it was really a beautiful thing to unfold.
Yes.
And, it did such wonderful things for everybody in that group. So we just wanted to honor Mike and respect the contributions that he made to our groups, and thank him again for that beautiful video, and Nick too.
Yes, and Nick, I'm wearing orange because it's October, Halloween, your favorite holiday. So this is for you, Nicholas. This is Mike's husband, Nick, who we love dearly, and you did such a great job on that video last year. And thinking of all of Mike's friends out there and family and his dad and siblings. But Mike was definitely love in motion. I think he still is love in motion. And when Marianne called me and reached out to me, it was actually Sweet Maddie reaching out to me to come on. I was like, I had this Michael in my mind going, Mom, you got to be there. I was there. Who else is going to do this, Mom? So I do feel Michael here with me right now, and Eric's house and just companioning, walking through with Mike, I think really helped him. Like I said, to feel like he was not alone. He's like calling me every day, Mom, I'm talking to a sibling. I'm talking to one of the dads, and they were so tight. And it went from they're all dads, I'm not a dad, Mom, to then he called them they're my bros. So it was so sweet and endearing, but so healing, and it spilled over to the family, and made me feel comforted as his mother that he was healing. I mean, that right there was gold to me, that he was getting comfort and in his grief and in his deep loss of our sweet Bob Robert. So anyway, thank you, Greg.
Thank you for joining us.
Leader of the group.
Thank you for sharing that
Of
story.
course, of course.
Could I share a story? Yes, let's swap. Which is perfect. We love that. Makes it exciting.
Makes it exciting. So, I also really, Geriann, I'd like to acknowledge you for the great mother that you are and for the great children that you have raised. I didn't have a chance to meet Robert, but I did have a chance to meet Mike. And while Mike's time on this earth was very short, Mike's legacy lives on in so many different ways. I love what you said, Geriann, about Mike is love in motion. Every morning, Greg and I get up to a little tiny picture of Mike, which is really just sitting over our dinner table, and we think about him every day. I wanted to share a memory because I think it was the first time I met Mike and his husband, Nick, was when they were dress shopping for their wedding. And so I want to share this picture. This is Geriann dancing with Mike at his wedding, and the wedding was here in Phoenix.
Yes.
I remember Mike saying, what color dress do you think she should wear? And we kind of talked about colors and what it should be. And I just told Mike and Nick, you guys are going to pick the right dress for Mama. And they did. And you can't see the picture very well, but it was really beautiful. And the smile on Mike's face and the smile on Geriann's face, beautiful. But most importantly, Geriann, it looks like you've got some moves. Look at that.
Yeah,
I think she's got some moves here. So,
Thank you, Mary.
anyways, that's it really has been such an honor to be able to work with Mike and Geriann. It's a privilege for really the entire team at EricsHouse. And